In this very important panel, and thank you also for the Geneva Peace Week. Indeed, FBOs should be more considered, should be more respected, should be more accounted for. The breadth and impact of religions and religious communities is not enough understood nor appreciated. Religions and FBOs have a huge global footprint, which could be used more in peace building. Multi-religious collaboration can definitely contribute to multilateral peace building in a distinctive and essential way in cooperation with governments, regional and sub-regional organizations. So when we understand that indeed FBOs could be and are powerful actors and allies in peace building, they are rooted at local level and they are also linked in global networks. FBOs are part of the civil society, are actually very much part of the peoples of the United Nations, to quote the preamble of the UN Charter, and indeed they have the duty to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights. They have the duty to practice tolerance and live together in peace. FBOs, voices and actors of public conscience, they should maintain moral standards, supporting and whenever necessary complementing and supplementing positive law. They should call governments, regional and international organizations to promote and implement those legal instruments and moral values, protecting human life and dignity and promoting peace. Indeed, FBOs should promote universal values in a broad dialogue. And as we shall see, in the last years, we had very interesting initiatives, both from Christian, Muslim, and also interreligious leaders to promote, to agree first and to promote universal values. And then, of course, it should not be a proclamation, it should not be appeals, it should be action. And action together, acting together in a network of solidarity and peace. And what would be the aims of those networks of solidarity and peace? They should reaffirm essential values of humanity, common to all religious traditions, highlighting what unites rather than divides. They should reaffirm the unique dignity of every human being as a creature of God, deserving fraternal love and social friendship. And also, they should establish networks of solidarity and peace between leaders, but not only between leaders, but also between communities of different religious communities. Then allow me to quote a historic example. This dialogue of Saint Francis of Assisi and the Sultan of Egypt, which took place 700 years ago, in 1219, could still be a model for today's interreligious dialogues. Then we could say that obviously Assisi is a good key place, key word to have meetings, interreligious meetings for peace. And here we see Pope John Paul II in 1986, and I quote from him: "The challenge of peace, as it presently posed to every human conscience, is a problem of a reasonable quality of life for all, the problem of survival for humanity." And to highlight the inner imperative of moral conscience, and also to say that peace goes much beyond human efforts, particularly in the present plight of the world, and therefore that its source and realization is to be sought in that reality beyond all of us. This is why each of us prays for peace. Then I would like to quote Secretary General Kofi Annan at the Millennium World Peace Summit of religious and spiritual leaders and I quote from Kofi Annan, religion can be a realm of extraordinary power. It can offer solace in troubled times. It can make sense of the seemingly senseless, because that's the world we live in. It can give us strength to meet the physical and spiritual challenges of life. And then to say, stress again universal values, to be merciful, to be tolerant, to love thy neighbor. No religion can claim a monopoly on such teachings. And then to say as Secretary General, and actually I know that Antonio Guterres did exactly the same thing, but to say that the same values animate the Charter of the United Nations and lie at the root of our search for world peace. Then also those leaders, those religious leaders which met next to heads of state and government in New York in 2000, adopted a commitment to global peace. And allow me to highlight this sentence: humanity stands at a critical juncture in history. No one that calls for strong moral and spiritual leadership to help set a new direction for society. We, as religious and spiritual leaders, recognize our special responsibility for the well-being of the human family and peace on earth. And I think 20 years after, the message is still important to listen to and to implement. Then, obviously, Pope John Paul, as well as Pope Francis, supported and launched appeals for common human values for humanity and peace. Here I quote this very important document, In Search of a Universal Ethic, a new look at the natural law by the International Theological Commission. Beyond the differences of our religious convictions and the diversity of our cultural presuppositions, we must be capable of expressing the fundamental values of our common humanity in order to work together. Here again, values and action. And then, clearly, I would like to highlight the value of the two extraordinary encyclicals by Pope Francis, Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti, and both were not only drafted in broad cooperation within the Catholic Church, but also with other religions. And I think it's quite important to read them and to see that they promote integral ecologies, that they promote an economy which would be benefiting every human being. Then we had obviously also other interfaith appeals for action and for peace. The World Interfaith Harmony Week, that's an initiative of Saudi Arabia, and that was unanimously adopted by the UN General Assembly 65/5 in 2010, and the 1st of February is usually the start of this World Interfaith Harmony Week every year. Then the Interreligious Appeal for the Abolition of Slavery of the 2nd of December 2014. Then the Christian-Muslim Summit of Religious Leaders, also in Rome, in beginning of December 2014. Then the Abu Dhabi document on human fraternity for world peace and living together in 2019. The Al-Quds Appeal of March 2019 by Pope Francis and King Mohammed VI of Morocco. And then also the second global summit on religion, peace and security in Geneva last year. And indeed, then Michel Bachelet, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, made a powerful statement, and there again showing that this cooperation between international organizations and faith-based organizations is critical. And I quote from her, indeed, we hope the Faith for Rights framework will also inspire interdisciplinary research on questions related to faith and rights. Deeper exploration of the ethical and spiritual foundations provided by religions and beliefs can help to debunk the myth that human rights are solely Western values. On the contrary, the human rights agenda is rooted in cultures across the world. Respect for human life and human dignity, well-being and justice are common to us all. And indeed, then I would allow me to add 2 words on the Sovereign Order of Malta as an actor of humanitarian dialogue in the Middle East. This is a statement by the Grand Chancellor of the Sovereign Order of Malta, Albrecht Peusellacker, and he was saying we have huge activities in Lebanon, Iraq, and some in Syria. The Lebanese Association is probably the only organization with good contacts with all the 18 other confessions in the country. Here we run 9 clinics, some of them as formal joint ventures with Sunnis, Shiites, and the Druze. Then also another example is of course the Holy Family Hospital in Bethlehem, serving women and children of every religion without discrimination. Then allow me to, possibly it's a kind of summary, but I found this very interesting. That's a Catholic priest in the Philippines who founded the Silsila Dialogue movement. And you see, promotes a culture of dialogue, path and peace, and actually does that in working together with Muslims and also other people in different faiths, culture and traditions, and at the grassroots level. And he took the word care, and he said, care, we can take every letter and say care, C for courage to live in dialogue in the midst of divisions and conflicts, A for appreciation of what we can find relevant in other religions, like prayer, fasting, solidarity with the poor, R for respect of what we do not understand, and sometimes we do not like in other religious practices, but we respect in the spirit of solidarity provided by things done by others, do not disturb the peaceful relations among people. And E, example of living a life in dialogue in all the aspects of the life of the community. Example is always the best lesson that we can give to others and a form of mission in the spirit of love and mercy. And allow me to give as bottom line and as concluding this sentence, to say what we need as actors and voices of public conscience is to rebuild international cooperation on respect for human life and dignity through inter-religious dialogue on shared universal values. And then just a small reference for those of you who would like to know more. Indeed, we should share information and best practices. We should train and educate for human dignity and peace. And here are 3 websites. Christus Liberat, Ad Latosi, CUHD. I invite you to visit. But thank you very much indeed. And